So when we boost the ink densities in a staccato screen and an AM screen, we see two very different effects happening. As the ink piles up on an AM screen, which is a large dot in the midtones, we start to accumulate more and more ink in the midtones. However, in the highlights, where we have very small dots, we maintain a relatively small ink film thickness. As ink densities boost higher and higher, we see a greater accumulation of ink in the midtones, but not in the highlights, to a point where those dots actually start to touch and spill over. The only correction that a press operator has is to add more water. Adding more water will help keep those dots in control in the midtones, but it will actually compromise what's happening in the highlights and pinch off those highlight dots. With staccato screens, we have the same dot size in the highlights as we do in the midtones. That means as the press operator piles more ink onto the dots, the ink film thickness is the same in the highlights as it is in the midtones. In fact, you can't over-accumulate too much ink. You can't pile up a big finger of ink on a small dot. That ink is redistributed to areas where it can accumulate, in the solids and in the shadows. So you get the saturation without sacrificing what's happening in the midtones, and you get a more consistent ink, film, and water balance through the tone scale.